All right, well, good afternoon. I'm Darrell Johnson, Communications Outreach Director with NC Counts Coalition, and this is our third installment of our virtual Lunch and Learn webinar series. This week's topic is talking about engaging colleges and universities, and so we welcome you to this great conversation about how the college student is counted and what universities doing around 2020 census efforts. And so first of all, NC Counts is a 501c3 nonprofit. We are not the Census Bureau. We are a nonprofit organization talking about census efforts around North Carolina, community leaders, and just talk about the issues and challenges around the census to make sure that we don't have those issues coming around in March. This series was created to talk about the undercount communities and talk about, strategies on going about to, like I said, address the issues and challenges and to ensure that we have a full and accurate count of North Carolina. So as I mentioned, myself, Darrell Johnson. Today's speakers are Irving Zalveta Jimenez, Assistant Director, NC Campus Compactor, who's a guest speaker. Then you have Lauren Bagby and Shelby Chevernico, Census Fellows from Durham County and also from Forsyth County, sorry. I'm talking about what they're doing from the campus perspective in terms of getting outreach around the census. So we welcome you all today. And we have upcoming webinars in the series of our webinar series here. But let's talk about the census leadership structure in North Carolina. You have the U.S. Census Bureau, this is their project, it's what they implement. And then you also have the Complete Count Commission formed by Governor Cooper in 2018. And then you have NC Counts Coalition, as I said, with a nonprofit organization around the census. For updates about NC Counts Coalition, join our webpage and sign up to get updates around what's going on with NC Counts, information about different census resources, and just things coming up in general. And it's 47 days until census 2020. So actually the census reference date is April 1st, as you all may know. So the forms are actually begin to go out to homes around mid-March. So it's actually almost less than a month until census operations. So get ready, it's exciting, it's gonna be fun, but I'm really confident and we have enough resources and people at the table to get everyone in North Carolina accounted for. And so with that, I'll introduce our first speaker. Is Irving. Irving began working with NC Campus Compact in June of 2019 as the Assistant Director. Irving administers our elections and democracy work, which includes the Campus Election Engagement Project and the Census 2020 Outreach. He also coordinates professional development opportunities for faculty, staff, and students, oversees the awards programs, and manages Compact's communications. Prior to joining NC Campus Compact, Irving served as a coordinator for social justice and education at Wake Forest University, Pro Humanities Institute, and as assistant director at Guilford College in the Multicultural Education University and a bachelor's degree in accounting and French from Guilford College. Irving is a man of many different hats, and he is very talented. So I welcome Irving to the stage to give us a presentation on what's going on with NC Campus Compact.
Hello, everyone. As Darrell said, my name is Irving Zabaleta. I use he, him, his pronouns. And I'm very fortunate to be working with North Carolina Campus Compact. And particularly very excited to share today with Shelby and Lauren, who you will hear more from later on this presentation. So I want to say that before we get started, that this program really the idea grew from our executive director, Leslie Garvin, the beginning of last year. And we have been very, very lucky to be in partnership with NC Counts Coalition from the very, very beginning. So I hope that throughout this presentation, you'll be able to see that anyone could really do census outreach. And regardless of what you do, and whether you work at a university or a nonprofit working with college students, that there is definitely different resources, and we can leverage the opportunities that we have as we interact with people, right? So all of us have the interaction with folks. So, and everyone will and need to be counted in the census. So I just want to set the framework before we get started. And I know that we'll be taking questions at the end. You can put them in your chat box, and Darrell will facilitate a conversation afterwards. And either Shelby, Lauren, or I will be happy to answer those. But as it is common practice with NC Campus Compact, we want to hear from you. We want to continue this conversation, and we hope that this conversation doesn't stop just in the next 45, 50 minutes that we have with you all. We encourage you to use the NC Census Fellow, no S at the end, NC for North Carolina, Census Fellow, hashtag, and tweet us. You can find us, as you see in the screen at the bottom, our social media handle in Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram is NC Campus Compact. Please make sure that you send us your questions through there. Anyhow, so what I'm going to be providing today is just an overview of this fellowship program, and then we'll be hearing from Shelby and Lauren, which are like two examples of census fellows doing great work in their community. So this is these are the schools that were selected. And as I said at the beginning, we partnered with NC Counts Coalition to really help us kind of overlay the map of the hard-to-reach communities and where we have campus members. So North Carolina Campus Compact has 39 campus members and institutions. That is, we have community colleges, public and private universities. So they were very, very helpful in kind of like, well, this is where you have a school and this is a really hard to reach community. So you could see all the different campuses in the screen. And we try very, very hard to diversify the campuses. So we make sure that particularly campuses with a large commuter population, such as community colleges, were represented in our program. All right, so very, very important. This work will not have been done with the partnership of Campus Election Engagement Project, SEED, and NC Counts Coalition. They, SEED kind of provided a seed money for this fellowship, and through the NC Counts Blueprint grant, the first round, we were able to enhance that fellowship to provide some activity fund and other resources to our fellows. So a big shout out to them. Please follow them as well. So we were very, very intentional from the get-go as putting, as I mentioned, the commuter students first, right? As we know, they're one of the hardest to reach communities because they're renters. And renters is one of the historically hard to reach populations. I know that there is a pushback against that term hard to reach, right? So I just wanna name that as well. But we wanted to get the commuter students, but we also wanted to say, well, the commuter students have different identities, right? So they're not just commuter students, but they might have, children, them or their parents or their family members could have different, could experience internet access, lack of internet access, or low internet proficiency, or they could know people that have children or other minoritized communities. So we wanted to make sure that our fellows were focusing on the commuter students and also in other hard to reach communities, while also educating the larger on-campus community, right? Because although, as we know that the students living on campus on colleges and universities will be counted by the school, we wanted that to make sure that they all knew about the census. Most people hear about the census, right, like 2 or 3 months before the actual census day happened, which is April 1st. And so we wanted to be sure that they knew exactly why historically the census has been important, because they eventually will have to fill that out. So this is our approach through this NC Census Fellow program. Is a very comprehensive approach, from educating these on-campus community to the commuter students, and also mobilizing the at-large community, focusing in the historically hard-to-reach communities that you see on the screen. All right, so I have been referring to the Census Fellow program for a while. So what exactly is it? So our Census Fellows are required to do about 3 to 4 hours per week in this outreach and meetings, counting that, also some events that they are doing on their campuses. And they also have a bi-weekly or weekly 1-hour video calls check-in with me. We actually have a call at 1 o'clock. So as soon as I'm wrapping up with you all, I'm gonna have a chocolate Valentine's candy and then move on. But so we do our check-ins, and kind of we like to use this time to brainstorm and to really see what's going on their campuses. Apart from the 1-hour video call check-in that we also use GroupMe and the app, the messaging app, and that has been a really, really great way to continue having that engagement and that back and forth, because fellows are able to pose a question, and it's great to see other fellows kind of answering that. Their main focus is in creating awareness on the census on and off campus. So with that said, what does that look like? So on campus, we see fellows doing some tabling events, but then also some more creative type of events. And I know that Shelby has some great examples about that, so you'll hear from her. But you know, our census are encouraged to use their creativity, and also encouraged to partner up with their local civic engagement office at their school to really you know, brainstorm ideas as far as what can they do to raise the awareness on the census. We also are using the SLSV, Students Learn, Students Vote, Census Working Group, best practices ideas to take the ideas from there and implement it on their campuses. But we also are encouraging our census fellows to work with nonprofit organizations in their community, so that they can partner up with them and see how they can leverage the relationships that they already have with this, that these campuses already have with the community, and try to create a ripple effect and engaging the college students with community partners and leaders. All right, and perhaps one of my favorite things is that our census fellows are mobilizing their peers, but not only through face-to-face interaction, which we know that is very important, but also mobilizing and engaging their peers in socially on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And so I just want to highlight, if we can go to the Census Fellow link. All right, could you all see my screen? Yes, okay, great. So these are some of the posts that our Census Fellows are creating using using the NC Census Fellow hashtag. So for instance, you will see Julius, who won this week's NC Census Fellow of the Week award, by the way, presenting to the commuter student population at Fayetteville State University. That's Lauren, but you'll get to hear from her in a minute. All right, I also wanted to point out this picture from our fellow at UNCG, that's her. And her, along with Love from A&T, that's Love, are participating in the subcommittee, the education subcommittee of the Guilford County Complete Count Committee. And Love actually became the chair of that committee. And that's a committee of comprised of different staff and faculty and other student leaders. But was a social media post for our Generation Z without some good memes, right? So there's some good memes that that our fellows have been able to create. But anyhow, I encourage you all to go back and look at this post. But the idea for us using that hashtag is that they're not only mobilizing their campus community, right, their peers, but also they are engaging with the folks at their home communities, right? So the friends that they went to high school with are able to see this post, and all of a sudden we have this massive education going on. All right, so as I mentioned, as I kind of clue it, the Complete Count Committee, all of our fellows are responsible for attending their Complete Count committees for the area, whether that is a county or a city. And that has been, for me, one of the ways that we're able to offer kind of the professional opportunity for our fellows, right? So most of them are student leaders in the local school, but haven't really much interacted in a leadership role in a community. And we want them to be prepared for what's to come after college. So they are being using this as a way to network with other community leaders, and we want them to see as community leaders themselves, even when they're in college. Apart from participating in the Complete Count committees, they're also organizing a census registration day. We are encouraging our census fellows to partner up with their school library to offer, kind of open up their computer labs so that they can have other people from the community, whether commuters, or not, to come and fill out the census under school. And that is, when I said not, I mean community members. Of course, they're tracking and reporting everything they do. All right, so as I mentioned, we are trying to do a more comprehensive approach to our fellowship. So we wanted to make sure that they were able to hit the ground running from the start of the spring semester. So we provided a one-day training in December. We hosted that at Elon University, and we had all of our fellows come and be trained during that day. We partnered with the Census Bureau, with NC Counts Coalition and Blueprint, and along with North Carolina Campus Competent Executive Director and myself, we were able to provide the training that focused not only on census education, but then also on community mapping and how to make sure that they use the leadership skills to engage everyone on their census. I mentioned the biweekly check-ins, and so apart from the support that I might be able to give to our fellows, they have a faculty or staff point person on their campuses. In fact, we partnered up with them to help us identify our 12 fellows, and they really were very, wanted to see the fellows kind of flourish in this opportunity and wanted to maximize the potential to the fullest. And you will see with our fellows that they did an amazing job selecting our students. At the end of the fellowship, we're able to offer our fellows a $600 stipend for their work and service. All right, so that was kind of an overview of the Census Fellow Program, but I'm sure that you want to hear and see other faces and voices. So I've got one of our amazing extraordinary fellows that we have at NC Campus Compact. As I mentioned before, Julius had won this week's NC Census Fellow of the Week award, but our two previous winners are with us today. They're looking to get to be at the helm, right, and take the final prize, which is a prize for everyone. But we wanted to get to a feeling of what it is like for the Census Fellows doing this type of work on their campus. So we're first going to hear from Shelby from Durham Tech in Durham, North Carolina, and then we're going to hear from a completely different school, from Lauren in Winston-Salem State University. So again, we picked these two wonderful women because they have been exceptional. They have hit the ground running, but also because they represent two different schools. So let's hear it from them.
Okay, so my name is Shelby Chervinko, and I am the Census Fellow at Durham Tech Community College. I guess just like some slight background information about me is I'm a nursing major, and the reason why I got involved with the fellowship is because the census was something that I really didn't know all too much about, but I am involved in like various leadership roles on campus. And so I kind of viewed joining, like being a part of the fellowship as like a challenge for a chance to meet, for me to learn and also to educate my peers and people within the community as well. And I guess moving forward, the fellowship has been interesting just because of the different things that I've learned and the different types of experiences that I've had so far on and off campus. As Irvin mentioned, one of the parts of the fellowship is to have outreach on campus. And some of the different outreach efforts that I've been doing on my campus is coordinating different types of events on campus, as well as doing like general tabling, and also creating marketing materials to put around campus that are centered around the census, and also to put on social media as well, just to kind of raise awareness with my peers and also on campus as well. And then also I've been having meetings with different staff on campus and like weekly staff meetings, and then also have met with different student organizations such as my SGA, which is student government on campus. And I've just been trying to, with those meetings, raise awareness about the census and then also recruit volunteers for the different events that I've had on campus so far. And events-wise, the events that I've had on campus have been very well so far. In January, I tabled at a staff event on campus. It was for MLK Appreciation Day, and that was my first time like doing any type of like outreach with the census on campus. and it went really well. One of the things that Irving gave us fellows is different types of pledge cards that I was gonna get a pledge card, but I don't know where it's at. We have different like pledge cards that we can get students and also staff and members of the community, yes, to fill out. And on the back, it actually has some like general information about the census benefits. And then it also has like a little box you can check that says I pledge to be counted. And then you can provide your name, email, and telephone number. And what all of us are doing with that is we're compiling like a Google folder, and then as it gets closer to the census, we'll be emailing people that have filled out those pledge cards with just reminders about different census information. So that event was, I guess, a good like place for me to get a lot of people to fill out the pledge cards and also get the word out about the census. But that event was more geared towards the staff because it was a lot of staff that was on campus because it was a Friday and not a lot of students are on campus on Friday. And then I recently had my first like census engagement event on campus. It actually happened yesterday, and it was called Cupcakes, Coffee, and Counts. And it was all about like student engagement, and I gave out cupcakes, and I also partnered with the voter fellow at my school as well. And the event went really well. It was a bit choppy at first because, you know, it was like, I don't know if anybody's from Durham, but it was downpouring in Durham yesterday and we got soaked, but we persevered. And the event went really well because near the end of it, all my supplies, all the things that I came with to the event were actually gone. And I gave away cupcakes and flyers, and it was a good event because you kind of could tell that the students really wanted to know more information about the census. And you could tell like the different types of things that really engage the students. So one of the things that I've been doing to kind of reach students on my campus is I've been relaying the different types of like the federal fund money that we can get for different federal programs. And I like tell like the students and stuff like this directly impacts us because we can stand to get more money for different educational grants. So, and I was like, I don't know if you guys get financial aid, but you know, this could affect if you guys receive any type of Pell Grants. And then it also affects like SNAP and Medicaid. And that really seemed to get like the students interested in what the census is, and it kind of like opened up the room for more conversation. They want to know, oh, how am I supposed to fill out the census? When is it coming? La da 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 da. And then chronologically throughout like the leading up to the census, I have different events that are planned. In March, I have an event that's going to be like a spring focus, and it's going to be spring into the census. And then my school actually had like another event that we're having on April 1st, which is National Census Registration Day, is Don't Be a Fool, Be Counted. And we actually are partnering with our library, and I've invited my Census Bureau specialist to that event as well. And we're going to have people come in and fill out the census questionnaire online, and then we're going to have like different games and swag to give away to students as well. I'm really excited for it, just because it's like April Fool's themed as well. And then in April 2, a week later, on April 8th, my school has this big campus event called Spring Fling, and I'm also going to be doing some general tabling about the census there and give away census swag, and you know, really try to reach out to people who still haven't filled out the census. And also, I've invited a community organization to come to either Spring Fling or the Don't Be Fool, Be Counted event. It's El Centro Hispano, and El Centro Hispano works with the Latinx community, which is one of the hard to reach communities within Durham. So I'm super excited for that. And I guess moving forward with, I'm going to start talking about the different outreach that I've done off campus. One of the things that I've done is I actually have gone out to I've gone out to another university on campus and actually educated them about the census. The PowerPoint says I had a presentation to a Duke class, and I went with Irving, and what the presentation was about in the class was sorry. The class was, it was a class that was about language and ethics, and it focused specifically with like Spanish in the Latinx community. And part of it's the Duke's class, part of the criteria for the class is to actually have 20 hours of like volunteer work within the community. And the class is actually going to be creating a after school program with one of the local elementary schools within Durham called Lakewood Elementary. And they want to incorporate the census into the after school program. So I went to the class and I provided them a little bit more information about, you know, Durham and the hard to reach communities. And then also like I gave a little bit more detail about why the Latinx community within Durham and I guess other communities as well is hard to reach, and that can range, especially children under 5, and that can range, like one of the reasons why they're hard to reach is because they don't have any like available resources where they can go and get information about the census and really understand what the census is about. And then there's also a gap with translation because a lot of times like there could be limited proficiency in English. And then also the reason why children under 5 are hard to count within the Latinx community is because sometimes children can come from complex living situations and they don't really understand, like the parents or the person that they're living with doesn't really understand that they need to be counted. And there's a lot of like misunderstanding around the census and what exactly it does too. But the presentation was awesome. And then also, like I previously mentioned, I'm collaborating with El Centro Hispano, which is a tutoring nonprofit with the Latinx community in Durham. And I've invited them to the different events on campus, like I previously mentioned. And then also I am a part, I guess, of the education committee for Durham's Complete Count Committee. And my experience with that has been good because like Irving mentioned earlier, like it's a chance for student leaders to really go out into the community and join other community leaders. That I guess has been my experience because it's given me a chance to meet people within Durham's community and like government that I never would have got to meet before. And it makes me feel more like an invested member within my local community as well, because I'm collaborating with all these different leaders and different not organizations, but different committees that are a part of Durham CCC. And we're working together with like census outreach. And yes, it's been pretty awesome though. Let's see, as far as like what Durham's Complete Count Committee, they're moving forward with doing going out into the community and tabling at different local events as well. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for Durham's. Yeah, I don't know what the next slide, but the picture is me at the Duke presentation, or at the, yeah, Duke class presentation.
Thank you so much, Shelby, for kind of giving folks a perspective into what it is like to be an NC Census Fellow. And just also want to thank you for your dedication and hard work. And it's really showing. So I have received numerous emails and tweets about the great event that you hosted yesterday. So congratulations. All right, so now we're moving to Winston-Salem from Durham. And I just want to say that I have been also extremely proud of Lauren. She actually started about 3 weeks ago. She didn't start with the cohort back in December. And she started 3 weeks ago. I went and did a makeup training with her. And we brainstormed ideas, and she met with her advisor. at Winston-Salem State, and she just hit the ground running. So what you will see in the next slides are Lauren's work in about 2 weeks and a half. Hence why she was the NC Census Fellow of the Week last week. Lauren, welcome.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Lauren Bagby. I am a current freshman at Winston-Salem State University. And like Irving said, I was kind of late to the game as far as the census and everybody else starting before me. But I had a good support system as far as him and my counselor. And we've been doing pretty good so far. So some things that I've been doing is I had a tabling event at a basketball game, and I got to get pledge cards signed. And I got to talk to commuter students, which is something that I'm focusing on because they're hard to count. But I mostly got to talk to adults that day because all the students were at the gym at the basketball game. But also at the game, I had an announcer. And he announced some things about the census and told them to come and check out my table. So it helped out a lot. And I got some pledge cards signed, and I had a lot of support from my friends. And also I've been hanging up flyers around campus. My counselor had printed out some flyers for me, so I've been hanging them up around campus and letting people know that the census is very important, and you have to fill it out. So another thing that I wanted to focus on was social media, because a lot of commuter students, if they don't have class, they're not going to be on campus. So it's hard to get in touch with them unless I'm like speaking to a class. But I wanted to focus on social media because a lot of students in my generation, in my age, they are always on social media. So before they hear it in person, they're going to hear it on social media. So I wanted to do something that would catch the attention of other students and something that I knew would engage them. So I made a TikTok video with my friends about the census. And it got a lot of views and a lot of, I feel like I spread a lot of awareness through that. So I probably will be making another one soon, but it was very good. I think we can play it if you click the video. Yeah, but I was just putting facts about it everywhere. It was really quick, nothing too crazy. And it was fun. So it made it seem like we were having a good time, and we were also spreading awareness for something that's very important to the state of North Carolina. But other than that, I also have for Census Day on April 1st, I'm going to be working with my library to open up the library for students and people living in the surrounding communities to come in and be able to fill out the census and ask any questions and get everything they need to get done so if they don't have access at home, they can come on campus and we can help them out in any way possible. I'm planning on having some raffling events. I actually just got some t-shirts and some more census swag. So I'm going to be giving those away in hopes to raise awareness and get pledge cards signed. And I actually presented to a class yesterday, and it was filled with commuter students. So I really got to reach out to them, and I got them to sign pledge cards. And it was a very good experience thanks to my professor, one of my professors in class. And as far as the Complete Count Committee goes, they've been very, very understanding with me as far as classes go. I wasn't able to attend the meeting in February because I had class, but they will be having another one in March that I do plan on going to. So that's been good. They have some pretty amazing ideas, and I can't wait to work with them more.
till the 17, about to get the gas, get the gas, get the gas. Until it big man, punch it till it big man, get the gas, get the gas, get the gas, get the gas. Until it go time, punch it
That was a video.
till it burn.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you for that. We don't have Dr. Crockett today from St. Augustine University to talk about what's going on there, but I can give you a little insight because I am an alum of the university and I have been working closely with the university about efforts there. Some of the things that they're talking about doing is, like I said, planning census events around Census Day, but also around the university's calendar. In the springtime, they allow universities, more people on campus, they're outside. And so, you know, they talk more about doing activities that's already built around the campus calendar. So one of the things that the university has coming up is called their Spring Fling, where it's mostly an outdoor opportunity and also opens the campus to come in and just tour the community. Also around the spring football game, there's a lot of events going on in that 2 to 3 day period over a weekend. And so one of the ideas was open the campus library and computer centers for the community to come in and participate in the census. And some of the other things, just general outreach. Dr. Crockett is really focused on reaching out to the elderly community that surrounds the campus and make sure that they have the resources they need to participate in the census. So there's efforts going on at St. Augustine University also. And I'm pretty sure we'll get his presentation, and when we share the stuff out, we'll have it for you. But thank you to everyone that presented. Like I said, Irvin's doing amazing work over at Campus Compact, and I had the opportunity to actually go up during that day-long training session with the fellows. And one thing I will say, each one of those fellows from those universities are very sharp, and you've only seen 2 examples of the amazing work they're doing, so just imagine what the other ones are doing. So stay tuned. I'm pretty sure if you follow Campus Compact, you'll see what they're doing, you'll get the updates, and they'll be pretty awesome. Now let's get into some questions. We do have a few questions talking about the college student and the count. So the first question is, any particular reason why no HBCUs were included in Wake County? As I mentioned before, St. Augustine is doing their own thing. They also have a census intern that's with the Wake County Complete Count Committee. So they have an intern that's with Wake County government that's also participating in census efforts around. So they're, just because the universities have been mentioned today, doesn't mean they're not doing anything. They're allowing universities doing their own thing in terms of census outreach. Irvin, you want to add anything to that?
Yes, so because I think the question mentioned in particular the triangle. So we technically do not have a member institution in the triangle that wasn't HBCUs, so they were not selected. However, apart from the fellowship that we have, that's just one component. That's our main component for census engagement. But we also try to do different ways to get the information out and resources to other member campuses around the state that are not here. You know, we have, like I said, we have members that, like Wayne Community College, for instance, that are in rural North Carolina, but we also have UNC Charlotte, which together with CPCC in Charlotte, North Carolina, that have a very dense historically to reach communities.
Awesome. The next question is, are the census fellows able to facilitate educational programming at other campuses within their county?
So we just heard from Shelby and the great work that she's doing there at Duke University. I think that was very powerful. I was able to go to that presentation, and for me, that's one of the beauties of the NC Census Fellow Program, and that is that they're able to network not only with community leaders and their own campus faculty and staff, but then also to other campuses around the area. We have seen that, for instance, the fellow at Fairview State University and the fellow at UNC Pembroke have been kind of brainstorming together because they're the closest in their area. I have also seen some great collaboration between our fellows at AMT and UNCG, they have been doing also good work together.
Awesome. I would mention here in Wayne County, the question came from Bobby Cole. I don't know exactly what county Bobby's in, but I know here in Wayne County, Vanessa, the census fellow from NC State University, she is all over the county. So there's not a place she won't go. It's not a place she won't help spread the word. I've seen her at numerous meetings. So like I said, these fellows are very sharp and they will do what it takes to get people accounted. So Bobby, if you let us know what county you're in, we'll see what we can do to get someone at your university. Next question is, I have housing folks that had questions about enumeration methods for group quarters county. Any resources or individuals you would recommend that I can connect them with?
Absolutely. That is a great question. So I wanted to make sure that I share that we have been very intentional in focusing the fellowship into this presentation in the commuter students because they're one of the hardest to reach communities in North Carolina. Every school but by December should have emailed a letter from the Census Bureau, either to the president or to the housing coordinator of the school, with kind of a notice of next steps from the census. I have heard from one school that they have received that notification and that they gave them a timeline between February and March, where they were going to get back to them with a more detailed explanation of what steps follow. I will also say, in terms of resources, that I am part of the, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, of the SLSB Census Working Group. And oftentimes we have representatives from the Census Bureau. As we know, there's a lot of information coming around the census, not only from partners and nonprofits that our community is hearing about, but from the Census Bureau themselves. So if you, I can connect with you after today's webinar, well, after my weekly call with the Census Fellow, that is, and I can connect you to that group. We are meeting next week, so you are there's still time to join that group and hear presentations. If that doesn't work with you, I can try to connect you with the Census Bureau representative who can direct you to the right department. But you know, as I mentioned, we wanted to focus this program on the commuter students and making sure that we make North Carolina count.
Awesome. And this question is for Shelby and Lauren. What would you say in the terms of you're doing outreach right now and promoting the census? What are some of the best practices that you've seen that actually, you know, work when you're doing your outreach? And we'll start with Shelby.
I guess the best practices in order to like really reach students is have things that you're going to give away. Like have a main thing that you're going to give to people, like some type of promotional material or treats like candy or t-shirts, like, or I believe Lauren said she was going to do a raffle and stuff. When you give away free things, that's a good way to get people to come and be like, hey, I want this. And then you're like, okay, yes, here's the free thing. But then here's also free knowledge too about the census. And it really helps with like having that like promotional material or that treat and stuff or a raffle and everything. It helps to get people to come. So yeah, that's my answer.
Other than what Shelby said, another great way to connect with students, I believe, is to go to them. So I feel like going to classes and talking to students and just having that kind of one-on-one, I feel like that's a great way to engage with the students because they're in class, so they don't have anywhere else to be. It's not like you're walking around campus and everyone's got somewhere to go. They're in class, so it's a great way to just connect and focus with them and let them know what the census is and why it's important.
And what has been the overall reaction? I guess we'll start with Shelby again. Overall reaction when you do talk about census to your peers, you know, how do they react to understanding that census really is important to their funding for financial aid for education? So how's been the overall reaction when talking about the census?
Initially, like, students have no idea what the census is, but then once you start to relay like the different types of benefits and stuff, students really are, they're like, oh, okay, like I didn't know that before. I'm glad that I know that now. And like one of the tail things that I'll tell them during my little speech that I give whenever I do tabling is like, keep an eye out for more information and just remember like the benefits and remember like the flyers that I'm giving you. And yeah. But they really, like, students really want to know what the census is about. Like the event yesterday that I had really showed me just how much the students wanted to get more information, because we had a tent set up, and there were just students that were standing there, like just looking at me and like having it's like the look that people give you when they want to hear more information. They want to know more about what you have to say and stuff. So yeah.
The reaction that I've been receiving from students is a lot of them are surprised. I've come across students who know about the census, and I've also come across students who know absolutely nothing about what the census is. And it's just been, their reactions have been very inquisitive. They want to know more, and they want to know, why do I have to do this? Why do I have to do this census? I've never heard of it. What is it? Tell me more. So it's like they want to know, and the more that I tell them and the more that they realize it benefits them, the more engaged they are.
Awesome. Any final thoughts from anyone? All right, well, thank you all.
I do have some final thoughts. Really quickly, because I know it's getting close to time and I do have to facilitate this other meeting at 1. But I just want to say that regardless of what we do, whether it's, like I said, working face-to-face with students, or perhaps you facilitate different programs, you work with a nonprofit, really leveraging the connections that you already have, either with college students themselves or with community members, to talk about the census. I think it will be really important. Shelby already mentioned there's going to be a lot of information coming at them, and just a reminder, hey, are you thinking about doing the census? Or it really opens up the opportunity to have a conversation about, and I know that next week webinar series is on the digital divide. So, a lot of folks are going to be confused as to they're going to be able to do it on the form this year, because some people will be receiving the forms. Is a form that we're going to be receiving is in English and Spanish? Why isn't it in another language? So there's going to be a lot of messages coming across, and we know that there's not enough just information out there and resources, unfortunately, that could get to everyone. I do want to give another shout out, because I've given different shout outs to different census fellows, but our census fellow at Central Piedmont Community College has been focusing a lot on immigrant communities that are non-Spanish speakers, and I think that is just very, very important, because since the form will be only in English and Spanish, but not in another language, although there are some language assistance programs in other languages, and different national organizations have been putting great resources online. And the fellow wants to make sure that they connect with the local community on the ground, and that everyone gets counted. So whether they speak English fluently or not. So with that said, just big thank you to NC Counts Coalition for being a tremendous partner. We could not have done that training back in December, or the makeup training with Lauren and Shelby, without your support, without Darrell's knowledge. And so just very, very grateful to be in collaboration with you. And again, if Darrell could share my information, I'd be more than happy to talk to anyone offline. Thank you.
Awesome. And that's a great segue. Like Irvin said, next week we'll talk about the digital divide, since this 2020 census will be the first time it's primarily done online. So we'll talk about the challenges around that and what are organizations doing to help combat those challenges. But thank you to all the fellows. Thank you to Urban for the things that you are doing, the things you have done, and the things you will continue to do to help make sure everyone counts in North Carolina. Everyone have a great weekend and look forward to seeing you next week.
Okay.